everyone, and welcome back to Episode Club. Sorry that we are on Avatar today. We got some going on. YouTube wants to hate us today, but that's not going to stop us talking about this episode. And joining me today, trusty companion, and always is on Episode Club with me, Johnny. So if you want to introduce yourself, and how is your day going so far?
It's going pretty darn good, except for this blasted internet with this bastard internet, as Craster would say. Uh, Thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure, and this was a really good episode. I forgot how good it was. A lot of things happened. I think me and you talked about it. So probably our favorite Danny episode. So it's a big thing. That's a big deal. And yes, forgive us. Let us know if one of us is choppy, if the sound is bad, if you can. Um, that'd be nice. Other
Yeah,
than that,
like if
thank
it's getting really bad, yeah, if it's getting really bad, just let us know because it's kind of hard to tell. Because the two of us both have like the same sort of but anyways, yeah, this episode from previous seasons, I've forgotten how much good stuff is actually in this episode. But yeah, it's a kind of slightly somber episode because we do lose an important key character from the first season. And yeah, let's, I guess, get right on into it. Our first kind of way we was with Jamie and Brienne, and Jamie's basically, you could say, fallen sick because of his hand amputation, and he falls off his horse, and then Locke and the men that are in sort of that group interrogate him and basically fight him, but he's ultimately defeated. So, what was your first kind of thoughts about this scene when you first watched it?
Well, yeah, I have to say it's pretty awful, and this is one of the times you really start to feel for Jamie and understand that what he is and what his hand actually means to him. That is his life. And it's interesting to note that Jamie's really never had to deal with any adversity as well. That's another thing that we'll get into later. I think the whole fact that he has to drink a bunch of horse piss and he's sitting there. I know in the books he's having to smell his own hand, right? And it's just this constant reminder of what he's lost is kind of all I can think about is everything he's lost because of this hand. And, you know, Brienne's just watching basically in disgust with everything that's happening. She got to give Jamie some credit for at least trying to fight with his left hand. He didn't do too bad. Even though he got kicked in the dirt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like, he dealing with obviously the seriousness of having his hand amputated, probably not with a clean knife or as clean as it can be, and not being treated properly. So, and because of the who he is, because he is the Kingslayer and he is Tywin Lannister's heir, he's going to be treated badly, especially by Locke and his men. And then the fact that they just like decided that they wanted to bottle up horse piss is kind of the weird situation in this, unless that was a complete lie, just to make him believe that it was. So then he just spit up all of the water.
Well, they're cool men up north, and I would say that it's a long, arduous journey back to. I think they're going to the Dreadfort, right? Or are they going to
They go to
Oh, do they go?
well, in the next episode, if I remember correctly, they go to Harrenhal.
Oh, okay.
Because that's where Roose Bolton is.
I
They had
got.
to bring him to like or
I'm
something.
getting conflated.
Um,
Sorry, with other
yeah.
parts of the show. My bad. And books.
No, it's okay.
So,
I kind of
mean,
watched the episodes kind of. Oh,
I hate this. We can't see each other, so we don't know when we're talking. But it's a long, arduous journey. A lot of these men are not great characters. We know Locke's not that good of a character. We know what they were going to do to Brienne. All they've seen is death and war and rape, so it's kind of the norm for them. This is kind of like probably not even a horrible prank they pull. They probably pull that on the new guy all the time, I would think.
yeah, most definitely, and especially once we realize how kind of much an evil person or an infiltrator Locke is. Later on down in the seasons, because Locke ends up going to the knife launch for Ruth Bolton and all of this stuff. So it's weird scene to watch these early scenes, which is kind of funny. We have some lovely people in the chat who've been making really good like comments or statements about this scene, and Arian said that it feels like it's the metaphorical death of the Kingslayer. Very true. Bobby, I think, said that he needed to get off his high horse. Of course, Bobby, with your one-liners. Yeah, and there's some good people in the chat. Like Bobby was here, Ben's here, Pandora Stargarian, Nancy, Alamar was here, and Attila Angel. Yeah, got some lovely people in the chat with us today.
And I got my blanket. Comes so in handy right now in the wintertime. I'm loving it. Just gotta throw that out there.
Yes, Nancy T and her blankets. It's always by my bed in case I need a little bit of extra warmth during the day and night, because, you know, beyond the wall, winter has most definitely come and it's very cold. If you want, we can talk about the other Jamie scene, which is kind of connected to this one.
This is where I honestly, you see, I'll just kind of go into talking about it if that's cool and you want to bounce off me. I want to hear some of your thoughts instead of you having to be the host all the time. Get you going. Because I know this is a really cool scene for me. Brienne knows what Jamie did for her. You can see her not. She cares. You know, she's seen Jamie for what he really is. She's seen the show he puts on. And I feel like she just didn't let him give up in this moment, and I love her for this. She reminds him that he's acting like a baby, but she even says a woman, acting like a bloody woman. But I guess by the standards of Westerosi ladies, I guess he was acting kind of like a lady. That would be a better term for it. But I believe it was a funny scene, even though it was a very dark moment. You know, he even eats like, oh, look at here, Mom. You see me? I'm eating. So I think it's hilarious. Go ahead.
Yeah, like when they talk about dying and how because Jamie's like, I'm just about to die, and Jamie goes like, you need to live, and how pretty much that this moment is him realizing that his hand wasn't what made him great in terms of being a sword fighter. It's just the fact of it's just how his hand doesn't define him, even though it does in a sense. As well as Brienne tells him, like, this is seeing the world for what it truly is, and the world, it's not rainbows and sunshine all the time. It's dirty and it's gross, and sometimes things happen. And I feel like for a lot of people, this was kind of a step in almost the slight, not necessarily like revenge, but it's getting Jamie to feel but kind of be a cripple in a sense, and to understand kind of what he inflicted on Bran in a sense, like the pain of feeling like giving up and wanting to die. even though, of course, it's different parts of your body, it still relatively feels the same. And also, we learned that what Jamie said about the Sapphire Isle is that there's Sapphire's mind on Sapphire Isle. It's because of the watercolor, which I feel like Jamie knew was something that they believe, because they're obviously not noble, so they're not obviously trained in the certain ways of houses and such. So it's kind of funny, their dialogue, and this really amps up the Brienne and Jamie relationship that a lot of people love. Even, I guess you could say, ship in the millennial term. But yeah, it's a really good, sweet scene because they both pick each other up when they're down almost in this, and it's really well done.
Yeah, Brienne
Um,
has a skewed vision of honor and doing what's right and thinking that doing what's right is always the right thing to do. And we know that isn't how it works out. And Jamie is always used to getting his way. My father, your father. You know, his father could get him out of anything, plus he's at least top three best swordsman in the realm. Most likely the best swordsman before he got his hand cut off. That was alive, anyways. Um, so yeah, that's a really good point. And this is something that's actually cultivated throughout the seasons. Unlike, you know, Arya and Gendry, uh, it's not cultivated. I know we get a little bit of Arya later, but jumping ahead. But this is something that's cultivated, and I could see happening, and them ending up in each other's arms if they do survive, and if they don't. You know, I feel like their fates are intertwined to an extent. You can have it go love story, or you could have it go straight romantic tragedy. There's some good setup there, which I like. Um, but yeah, I know the whole Gendry Storm's End. Arya's got to marry. Whatever. I don't want to ramble on about that though.
yeah, um, that's kind of the only that's the last time we see them in this episode, is them talking about Sapphire Isle and all that stuff. So, do we want to talk about Jamie's brother, Tyrion? Because that's like the next, I guess, good chunk of scenes that we can talk about. Um, and like the people in King's Landing. So Tyrion meets with Varys to basically discuss Cersei's plans after Black Day, when she's gonna kill him. And Varys talks about his past, and you learn a lot about Varys in about 5 seconds. Like in what is it, 5 minutes? You learn, and it's kind of creepy, but it adds more questions. So, what do you think about story being from Mir?
Yeah, I want to say he's telling Tyrion the truth, but that would be almost the only person he's ever told the truth, so to speak, right? I do believe it, given the nature of what happened there, his sincerity. It makes sense for what happened to him. I think it goes back to him hating the dark magic. The fact that he actually took some revenge in the defeat of Stannis at the Battle of Blackwater. It was actually personal for him. I think is very key to what's coming up in season 8. The flames turning blue. There has to be something there. I feel like Bran talked through those flames, and I'm trying to piece something a little bit together there. But I do feel like he heard Bran. Now, does that mean Bran's the Night King and all that? No. But I feel like people have to be put in place for everything to work in order to defeat the Long Night in whatever capacity they're going to try to do it. And I think this scene points a little bit to what's going on there. You know, it's a good little scene into the backstory of Varys, and we know why he's so slick as well. You know, he was in a mummer's troop, and after that, he did everything he had to do to survive. He stole. He was a great thief. Uh, don't really get into it in the show, but Illyrio protected him, and they had basically a little gang of thieves. And so I think Varys sees a lot of himself in Tyrion as well. And I believe that's why he was able to confide in him. Plus, he watches everything everyone does. And I think Tyrion isn't one for spreading rumors, if that makes sense. But go ahead, I've been rambling enough.
Yeah, we find out pretty much that Varys is from Myr, which now only like 2 or 3 people have said they're it's Thoros and Varys are the only 2 people really that are from Myr, as presented in the show. So it's kind of fun to see like another person, so that Thoros isn't the only person who's from Myr. But the fact that he talks about how he was a child and he knew that certain things happened to children, and that what happened to him, which was basically having his parts cut off and then being thrown into the flames in blue flame, which is kind of a suspicious but potentially telling aspect of this. We could probably see maybe Bran maybe hint at more of what it means in season 8. I don't know, because Bran likes to creep people out. So if he meets Varys and is like, I know what happened. When your parts don't exist, know that your parts don't exist anymore. Like, kind
What
of
if Bran
thing.
tells him the same thing he heard in the flames in the same voice? Like, Varys literally freaks out at this point. We could have a scenario where Varys is so scared of Bran he wants to kill him. Now that I think about it, right?
Yeah.
Go with that,
Yeah,
or
and he
go with
feels,
whatever you want to.
yeah. Is most definitely like a situation where Varys would be scared, because Varys isn't usually very easily very scared. There's only been like 2 or 3 people that have actually terrified Varys in the show. When she said that she heard what the sorcerer said in the flames, um, and stuff. So there's only been like 2 or 3 times that Varys has been, and the fact that pretty much everybody else just that is in that storyline with Bran openly like kind of Bran's powers are, for someone, especially Varys, to be very like off put by it would be like very cool, but also very like insane. And Varys knows a lot of stuff, and the fact that Bran, in some sense, vests that idea might be like a kind of situation.
Yeah, and Varys's blood being so powerful, could Varys's blood be some kind of key to defeating the Night King? And this be the blood that everyone's looking for, and they're just kind of overlooking Varys. You know, there's something really special about him. In the books, Blackfire, in the show, maybe we'll learn more. I feel like we could, they could always throw a flashback at us. It doesn't take very long to throw a quick flashback with Bran doing it. And if Ferris's parts were so powerful then, I could only imagine there should be some power in his blood now. And I feel like Melisandre sees that as well, especially by the way she looks at him. I think she looks at him like he's something to covet in a sense. The same way she looked at Stannis and the same way she looked at Gendry. She has that look about her when she's talking to him. So maybe it's just me, but who knows? Varys is Nisa. Ha!
Yeah. Well, Mir is like a place that they know about, so it would be kind of interesting to figure out the background. Yes, again, interesting. Take a shot. The more of this background, because he only talks about it like at the most time that we just need more knowledge about him. He's only spoken about this, I think, 1 or 2 more times. I think he maybe, or it's spoken about, like in season 6 or something. So it's not. So if Bran ultimately is the one person's like, I know what that says. It's kind of funny.
Yeah,
The
Carl
next
fucking Tanner definitely was up in. I
Carl.
just want to say real quick, they're gonna set. They've
Go
been
ahead.
setting this up with Varys. It's like a whole Chekhov's gun. They bring it up at least every other season. There's gonna be some kind of payoff with it in the end, unless they're just horrible writers, which they're not horrible. Come on, Carl fucking
No.
Tanner from Gin Alley, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah, the next scene is Varys talking to Ron, pretty much about Podrick and his afternoon adventures in the last episode, as well as what Littlefinger is up to next. So, my kind of thought on this scene, unless you want to go first, John.
I just want to throw one thing out here. The fact that they gotta talk about Pod's rod is odd. I had to throw out that little rhyme. But prodigies appear in the oddest of places. That's the main thing I took from this, and I'll let you roll with that.
Yeah, the idea of prodigies what is it? Prodigies develop in strange places or something like that. Bobby is the one that wants to. He's the one that leads the assassination of Craster, right?
Yeah, he's the one that actually kills Craster. He stabs Craster through the bottom of the chin and talks all that smack. You're a goat fracking bastard.
I don't know, a daughter effing bastard.
Yeah. Goat. Yeah.
Um,
Anyways.
the yeah, the name I think in the next couple episodes, something I can't remember. But yeah, the fact that they Varys goes to Roz and is like, "Do you know anything about this?" So obviously that it happened with Podrick has spread to Varys, and it's kind of funny that she's like, "Well, they didn't explicitly say what happened, but this is kind of what happened." And they said they've never had this before, and they've been with a lot of men. So it only comes to question: what did the Danes know, or the Paynes? Sorry, not the Danes. The Paynes know about those times in life.
Viking
Also,
on History Channel. No, that was a Freudian slip by Kenzie. Go ahead.
but there's also the never mind. The Danes, like a Chardonnay or the Dane. Anyway,
I messed it. I'm sorry. I was just making it.
it's okay. They also talk about how Littlefinger's going to meet with Lysa, but that doesn't happen for what I remember for a couple episodes. Or he leaves and then he comes back. Yeah, it's after she finds out that she's going to be married to Tyrion that he leaves and then he comes back. He comes back for the red wedding. Not the red wedding. The purple wedding. Anyway.
Well, Pandora, if he put a piece of cured leather at the bottom of it, he could technically drink out of it there. I could give you a loophole, but I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, it would just pour all out of there. It doesn't work like that. And it wouldn't come out right because of how the hole, yeah. Either way, though, he could spent some time on it, maybe a little arts and crafts with the wives. But yeah, I agree, Pandora. I'm just trying to give him some excuses.
Yeah, and it's been fucking commentating. But the fact that they're going to meet Lysa Arryn and that Roz mentions that she can obviously read, and that there's 2 feather beds on the ship, one for him and then one most likely for Sansa, which causes Varys to go into a slight spiral, asking people about Sansa and her position and how they feel about her, which is kind of funny. But yeah, Varys is scheming and plotting. Obviously, a few episodes back, Tyrion says schemes and plots are the same thing. Yeah. It's a quick scene, but it's kind of funny that they have to talk about kind of what happened, but they skate around the issue. Podrick.
Can I throw one
Anyway.
thing out there too? I think we kind of skipped over revenge. You will get revenge in time or in due time.
The
I
revenge
think,
you
and it
want.
was talking to Tyrion.
Yeah, the revenge you want will be yours in time. I think that's what the kind of exact-ish quote is, I think.
You could always go the
But
Cersei route, or whether he got his revenge or not with his father. I don't know, but then what's his whole story about if not some type of revenge? Unless he's just trying to survive, which, is a valid option. He's just trying to survive. It didn't really have much of a choice. It was pretty much thrust into Dany's service. I mean, what else is it gonna do? Yeah, Tyrion's motivations are a big question mark. It could go a few different ways. Sorry.
no, yeah, most definitely. Like it's to talk about, especially going into season 8, which we can probably talk about on another stream. But yeah, Tyrion's motivations, especially in the later season, is kind of crazy. Guess we'll talk about the next Varys scene if you want, or we can talk about Joffrey and Marjorie. What do you think?
You want to talk about Joffrey and Marjorie real quick? I think we can do it pretty quick. I mean, we're hearing all the stories. Joffrey is relishing in dragons eating people. You get the sense that he's a cat. He's a animal killer. He's a budding serial killer on the rise. And Marjorie's playing him like a drum. We get some nice little banter back and forth from the Queen of Thorns and Cersei. It's fantastic because they're both lying to each other's face and they both know it. But we have this point where Cersei sees her life flash before her eyes when Marjorie takes Joffrey out, and the whole Commons is screaming her name. And that's kind of all I'll really say about that. I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, the when Joffrey's like showing Marjorie or giving necessarily Marjorie like a history lesson of, oh, this is this Targaryen and this is that Targaryen and this is, oh, what happened with this Targaryen. They mention Aerys and Rhaenyra in this, and they obviously hint at Rhaenys and Aegon, Rhaegar's children, and where they were buried, which Marjorie mentions. It's like that they were good people, but things happened and they obviously died. Because on the side of the Targaryens, if my memory serves me correctly, for Robert's rebellion, because Elena mentions the Tyrells went to Storm's End during the battle, and it's kind of funny how now they kind of like flip flop. The Tyrells like to flip flop a little bit, which is funny.
Yeah, they're Golden Rose. If you want to even talk about that.
Yeah.
Growing strong.
And them growing strong. And when Cersei talks about how pretty much that Robert wanted to be buried in Storm's, I think Robert. I don't know if they've ever we never kept track on where Robert's bones are, but they've in the books, if my memory serves me correctly, but they've only always done Ned, but Ned's bones are somewhere in the Riverlands, right, Johnny?
Cat. Does Cat have Ned's bones yet? Yeah, he took them back to her. She should have either sent them back to Winter. She probably has sent them back to Winterfell, more than likely.
Yeah.
I would think she would send them back with a guard. I don't think she would take them herself, especially knowing she's probably staying. So she would probably have sent them back by now. That's probably how Ned's remains got back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's to be. But in the books, isn't it that Riverlands or something. Like there, or that we haven't kept track. Anyways, I'm rambling about dead people. um, yeah, when let's go outside. Let's go see all these people that adore you because you led the defense of King's Landing. Like she knows how to most definitely manipulate Joffrey in a sense, and it terrifies Cersei. Like you said, it like literally terrifies her when the door is open and she's just like sees this happen and she's so scared that something dangerous will happen, even though they have the gold cloaks and probably Lannister soldiers outside the sept. It just automatically terrifies her, which kind of, in a sense, is what she talks to Tywin pretty much about in a later scene.
Yeah, I think she sees her power too going away as well. It's a big deal. Oh, that Tywin scene is fantastic too. Yeah, we can go wherever you want to go with this.
Kind of talk about this because we're kind of talking about the King's Landing stuff. So, in this, after seeing all of this happen, Cersei meets with Tywin to talk mostly about Jaime, but then they also talk about what Tywin's doing to whatever is necessary to get Jaime back. But then Cersei mentions about being Tywin's confidant and that how pretty much that the Tyrells scare her, mostly likely Marjorie, and Tywin just like, no, they're great people, and it's like, or great people in quotation marks for Tywin. Yeah, if you want to talk about your thoughts on that for a second.
Well, I think it's hilarious. So Tywin, I think, knows exactly what the Tyrells are. Uh, Cersei's freaking out because her firstborn son isn't under her control anymore. And this is clearly stated by Tywin. Not, you can't even control him. Well, you're not as smart as you think you are. And she's having Joffrey taken away from her. And we haven't found out about the prophecy yet, I don't think, have we?
Which prophecy? The Valonqar prophecy?
The Maggie the Frog
Or the
prophecy.
Undermore?
There is no Valonqar in the show, necessarily.
They kind of bring it up in, is it season 5? I think it's like the season 5
Okay.
opener. It's because when Cersei is having a flashback while going to Tywin's funeral, if memory serves me correctly.
Yeah. Nancy T has a good point. Why didn't Kat teach Sansa some of that? Grandma Tyrell managed to teach Marjorie. Yes, she did. Grandma Tyrell is not playing. She cuts to the chase. She tells you how it is, and she does it in the proper manner. That is a fantastic lady there. I have to say that's my Game of Thrones number 2 crush. Septa Mordane's my first. Sorry. That's an inside joke for anybody in the know. Where were we at? Sorry.
It's Cersei talking to Tywin.
Oh yeah, so she definitely wants more control. She has this look about her face, and I know you were talking earlier, Kinsey, about how they didn't even shoot the scene together, which I think's amazing that they could pull this
Nope.
off. So it's really good that the silences, the whole writing. We'll see Cersei use this little writing technique later. She uses it as well, but it's a power move to be so busy that you're doing something and you got, oh, go ahead, I got a little bit of time to talk to you. Tywin knows how to play it. And it, I, to Tywin's point, I think he knows what the Tyrells are trying to do. He knows what they're all about. I mean, you see some of the conversations he has with Olenna, and they respect each other. Even Olenna says that later. And yeah, I just think this is more based off Cersei's fear, and I do think that Tywin was right, that she's not as smart as she thinks she is. She's I believe she has a skewed perspective on what's going on. Now, does Marjorie have her hooks in Joffrey? Yes, but you know, how much can she control?
Yeah, because this scene really provides us with a lot of Cersei believing that Marjorie is the younger, more beautiful queen that we're yet to really know about, but it's giving that for her wanting to do as much as possible to get her away from Joffrey, the most credence. And then it's funny how Tywin basically sits back in his chair and goes, "The Tyrells saved us. They saved your children, and you want me to get rid of them? Like, you're nuts. Sit down." And it's just, but
Yep.
when you said with the writing in terms of Cersei going to people when they're writing letters, Cersei does that to Olenna in season 5, I think, after Tommen has been, or this, what is it, the Sept have turned against Marjorie and Loras, and she's like writing letters.
We both know you're not
something.
writing anything.
Yeah, like it gets kind of turned on her, and she also does it to Olenna, I think, at a later date. Like it's funny. They like to write letters and have deep conversations.
And Pandora says the same thing, and uses it on the Queen of Thorns.
Yeah, which is the Cersei's losing grip of her firstborn child, the one that she cares so deeply about, which is kind of funny to watch her scream a little bit with that. But if you have any more thoughts on that, we can go and transition to Olenna and Varys.
Oh yeah.
What?
Well, I mean, Olenna farts roses, right? Growing strong, the golden rose. That's her favorite symbol. She doesn't have anything with a golden rose on it as well, I'd like to point out. No, you gotta love it. She is able to mock herself and her own house. She has a little self-deprecation. I mean, she's just like a very charismatic person. That's what you have to love about her, and that's why she's lived so long and gotten as far as she has. She didn't have the brother that was the heir. You know, she wasn't betrothed to him, but she decided to sneak up there herself. She knows how to play the Game of Thrones and kills me. Oh, look, we have a spider in the garden. And how many times has you? I'm just gonna ask you this: how many times have you seen Varys like almost timid and not know what to say and kind of scared to talk? That's rare, right?
It's funny. I think it's pretty, maybe like a handful, maybe even less of scenes. I feel like the one that stands out to me a lot is when Kinvara is introduced in season 6, and he's just like, whoa, like he's kind of freaked out. Yeah, Varys is funny. And Olenna, with her poor granddaughter sitting, I guess this was one of her granddaughters who's just sitting and is doing what ladies do, which is embroidery, and she's just like, whatever. It's like, it's not like grandma like thing to do, which is like the funniest thing ever, because usually grandmas love every single thing that their grandchildren do. So it's funny. And she immediately, like you said, sees Varys and is just like, look, there's a spider. Basically, almost like, watch out for this person because they know a lot of stuff about everybody. So watch out. And
oh yeah, Sansa isn't interesting at all, by the way. I have to point that out.
Yeah. And like she's not, like they talk about how the interest in Sansa Stark and how she has real necessarily no value besides of where she comes from and that she has a pretty face. And the pretty much Baelish wants to steal Sansa away and put her key in his pocket, almost like her as a key in his pocket, which could also be a sexual innuendo. um, and that there needs to be a plan in place to not have Sansa be with Baelish, because of how much value he has in terms of the realm. Which is, what did you think when they had this conversation about Sansa? While I figure out some of my own thoughts because I kind of scribbled. Go ahead.
Well, Sansa right is the key to the North, and they're right about this to an extent from what they know and the knowledge they have. Sansa is key to everything, all things to the North. I mean, she holds sway everywhere, and Littlefinger, through Roz, we find out a little earlier, has two beds in the cabin on the ship he's leaving to go see Liza on, and he doesn't take an interest in any of his workers, according to Roz. So you can deduce that he was taking Sansa. So they have to stop this. Uh, for instance, Varys knows how dangerous this man is. He will rule over the kingdom uh, at any cost, even if it's to rule over the ashes. So I think that's a very important point. And Varys even respects and slightly admires Littlefinger, which I can give him that. You got to give the man his due for playing the game as well as he does. I despise him, but can you respect him? Yeah, I guess. I think this shows a little bit of Varys' character. He doesn't let emotion play too much into what he does, but this here you could see he was almost frantic about, and Varys doesn't get frantic about much, but he knows that if Sansa gets in the hands of Littlefinger, uh, everything that can happen, and it makes you wonder if Varys knew about the lie that caused the war, Robert's Rebellion, as well. Go ahead while Franco interrupts.
Yeah, I think it's very possible that Varys knew about um, what happens with Lyanna, um, but the fact that he's so worried and he goes to the Tyrells and is like, pretty much do whatever you can to secure whatever you can alliance with the North, most likely Sansa, and this because he starts about like, oh, because Olenna quips back with, because they sat with her one day in these gardens. That's why you think I'm so interested in her. It's like the funniest thing because she just gets back with those funny quotes. But yeah, Varys knows the power that Sansa holds, which a lot of people, especially still at this time, still, I'm coming from, me, Sansa fan here, know the power that she holds politically as well as most likely politically, like the power that she holds, especially. Sorry. What happens in the demise of the end of this season, which even almost amps up, and kind of continues up until pretty much this season because, for all intents and purposes, one that, as far as we know, can be married and most likely have children under what would have been the Stark name, even though she is technically a Lannister. Um, yeah, it's like the power that she has, it's kind of still lying dormant, even though it pops its head up a couple of times throughout. But yeah, anyway,
Uh,
go ahead.
the dog show says Varys is like Dick Cheney in the Vice film. Well, I would ask, in season 8, is there going to be a hunting accident where Varys accidentally shoots Tyrion or someone else with a crossbow in the face? I hope I didn't drop just then. Did I drop?
What if?
Did I drop?
No.
Okay, good. Anyways,
No,
there you
but
go.
what if that's a bad like bad? But what if that's like one of those things that we don't expect? Like Tyrion, who knows, could be turned into a white and Varys has to kill him or something. Like it's not inconceivable, but even though it's slightly tinfoil and outlandish, it's not inconceivable. So anyway, what were you saying about what did you want to say at last about Olenna and Varys talking about Sansa before I guess we talk about the quick Sansa scene with Sansa and Marjorie?
Well, not much. I mean, right here you kind of get the insinuation that they are going to go with Loras and make a marriage. A marriage makes the perfect sense, and yeah, you kind of get a behind the scenes of how the game is played. That's one reason I like this episode and the show, in fact. Um, I
Yeah,
agree with Pandora if you want to read that.
yeah. I was about to bring that up. Good, minds think alike. So Pandora's comment is I think Varys respected Ned and wanted a good match for Sansa since Ned held up his end of the bargain but tried to bring peace to the realm. He went to the Tyrells. Just thought, yeah, because he knows that, because that would be an interesting alliance if Sansa did marry into the Tyrell family, even though she'd be marrying to Loras, and not what is it, left or right that's in the books because they only bring up two Tyrell children and not the other ones.
Yeah,
And it's kind of just a funny thing. Like that'd be a dynamic up until we get to what season 7 when the Lannisters take over Highgarden. Like that could have been a scenario that would have been really fun but very boring for the to explore her being Lady of Highgarden. Um, like it would have been funny, but it'd also be quite boring because she'd be just sitting there the entire time, or she'd just be a character that's like off screen for majority of the season. Um, so in some ways it's good that it happened, but in some ways it's also bad. So it just depends on how you look at it. Yeah, I don't
I,
know. Well,
I think it was good. We can go to Sansa praying, and then Marjorie gets
yeah,
sassy. Yeah, taking Sansa's
mm,
role,
yeah,
taking after Olenna.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I like how Al and Bobby are talking about the Twitter, their Twitter relationship in the chat. Um, if you haven't seen that, go check my Twitter from a couple like last week or something. Um, but Sansa goes to pray, and Marjorie finds her, and they talk about what they prayed for, and pretty much how if Sansa marries Loras, then she becomes Lady of Highgarden. And that pretty much once she marries Joffrey, that she'll be queen and she can basically tell Cersei that Sansa can do pretty much whatever she wants when she's queen, which is kind of funny. But my question is, if you knew your brother was gay, and you have this girl who has some sort has like a crush on him, would you knowingly as like a sister slash sibling still go through with it even though you knew it? So you're just sitting there in the corner, which proves either A, Marjorie is a decent friend and giving her a better option than somebody else, or B, just wants to see what happens. Um, yeah.
I think Marjorie listens to her grandmother. I think also Marjorie has somewhat of a heart. She's not an all bad person. Yeah, she does a lot of things for selfish reasons, but I still think there is some softness there to her that can't be overlooked. I believe that's kind of a good point you bring up there. I don't know if they go so far as to really trying to protect Sansa as more of trying to protect their house and stuff of that nature. But if they can protect Sansa while getting what they need, it's a bonus, right? Does that make sense? Uh, they're gonna try to help her if they can, unless it's gonna put their house or something in danger. You know, they're using legal means right now. I mean, it's a gray area, but they're using legal means to do what they're doing up until this point. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
and I hope porridge plague never becomes a thing. Right? Like there's some weird biohazard thing where porridge plague becomes a thing. Anyway. Yeah, and they kind of talk about how like Marjorie herself rose to become queen after being cousin. So not, like we said, inconceivable that the younger, more beautiful queen potentially hashtag my while comes like rising from like as a phoenix from the ashes, and yeah, it's kind of funny because she plays in the next X-Men movie. Anyway, I'm rambling. We can go to the Night's Watch, or do you want to Bran or Arya in the Brotherhood Without Banners? But the big epic part, or would you want to leave that for the very end? Epic Danny scene.
And talk about Bran's vision in the north where Cat pushes him out of a tree. What a lovely mother that is. There's just a little bit there. You want to cover that real quick and then go straight into... Well, I don't know if you want to go ahead and cover Reek as well.
We can talk about Bran. Yeah, we can talk about Reek.
It went robot when you said Reek. It was perfect timing.
Oh. Yeah, so Bran is in a vision and he sees Jojen and Three-Eyed Raven, pretty much that he has to capture the Three-Eyed Raven. But obviously the Raven gets away and Catelyn's in a tree and yells, "Promise me! Promise me! Promise me!" as she's rocking him in the tree, falls out of the tree. So Catelyn likes to use the "promise me" but with Bran, which is kind of a funny thing. And then he wakes up with Jojen just staring at him because his lessons have to be continued. It's kind of a quick scene, but it just shows Bran getting his lessons in. What did you think about it?
Well, he's trying to catch something. The real thing I can take away from it without like trying to break it down section by section is that it symbolizes him having to shed everything away that is Brandon Stark. That he can't get away from what's happened to him. He can't get away from falling. He can't get away from his past. He's gonna have to move on and accept it. He can change the past, but not his past, if that makes sense. Maybe he might can influence the past. We're getting into a area of argument there, but I just think it simply represents his metaphorical death, the same we get with Jaime here. We get a few metaphorical deaths here, I think. I think Sansa's pretty much already metaphorically died, so she's on the rise back up as well. You have Jaime, then you have... Yeah, so there's a little bit of death and rebirth in this episode for sure. And then you have that with Dany as well. The rebirth of the dragon and the rebirth of titles. So, but we'll talk about that later. Sorry. See, I ranted about a 20-second scene.
And just quick, I love Doc's question in the chat. Why isn't Bran checking up on what Cersei's up to instead of Jon and Dany on the boat?
He's a teenager? I don't know.
He's a teenager and wants to watch his brother slash cousin have sex with his brother slash cousin instead of watching some middle-aged sit in her
Do you think
castle all
he
by herself.
do you think he hears the cheesy music while he's watching it at the same time too?
But like,
The
hey, probably like his mind comes up with the cheesy music. Um, yes, that'll be a question coming up when that scene plays out because oh man, do I have actual when those scenes come up? Do I have actual qualms about that whole thing? Anyway, but yeah, it's funny. And yeah, so the Rams, well, it's like only I guess the Ramsey scene's about 5 minutes. Ramsey at the on's about 5 minutes, and we're talking about time parameters. And basically, they talk about Yara Deepwood. Mom says he's from Salt Cliff, which is obviously not true. And the Greyjoys. And if you want to talk about the most poignant thing, pretty much that Theon says in this episode, and yeah, just on the run to get recaptured. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, your sister's waiting for you the whole time. It's just jollying him up, telling him about how he saved him and what he had to do. Oh, I had to wait till the last minute. Uh, we get this whole "I'll never be a Stark." Theon goes down this whole hole of despair of him being so jealous of Rob, and this we see is the root of what happened to Theon. Honestly, the jealousy. He was never treated like a prisoner, but you know, Rob was the chosen son, so to speak, and Theon was a son, the last living son of a high lord, and he felt like he should be getting the praise and the everything that Rob was getting, and he wasn't. He felt like he had that stolen from him, and I can sympathize or empathize a little bit with Theon, but he walks right back into his trap. And yes, um, we find out that he didn't kill Bran and Rickon, and this is some pivotal information he gives up to Reek. Not Reek, but well, in the books he takes on the Reek persona for a little bit. Old Ramsay does, but anyways, I'm getting off topic. Uh, and he talks about how he chose wrong and everything that happened with him, mainly only to end back up in the torture room. And it's just like a nice little surprise party waiting on Theon. I think it was fantastic. I believe there was a cake in the corner, but I'm not sure. Maybe some red solo cups as well. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, there's the back. Um. Yeah, just the fact that Theon just goes on his little adventure to then be recaptured again, kind of funny, because obviously, as we know, this is Ramsay. I don't believe his name is revealed yet. I think he's just known as just Bruce Bolton's, or is just like some random kid. Which is kind of funny, but we all know what Ramsay is and what Ramsay does. So just to have him recaptured is kind of funny. But especially giving up that information that he does is like really Theon. But I do kind of sympathize with him saying that his real father was Ned Stark and that his real father died in King's Landing, which is a thing that gets brought up again in season 7. So yeah, it's kind of a quick scene, but it has some emotion attached to it, which is very Game of Thrones-esque in some ways.
Yeah, Bobby. If only Theon didn't go get it. If only Greyjoys weren't treasonous whores, right?
Yeah.
Rob shouldn't have sent him to begin with. His mother counts it again. I mean, Kat did give him some good advice. I can't say she's an awesome person. I don't know why I loathe her so much. I think it's because she's so self-righteous. is the problem with her.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways,
Mm-hmm.
we'll get into that at a later date. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's all I had for that um scene. Do you want to talk about Arya
Yeah, let's talk about
and the
Arya.
Brotherhood without banners? So then we leave the two big scenes for the end. So Arya with Thoros and the Brotherhood without banners, as well as Gendry and the Hound, and they're all hooded so that they can't see where they're going. But they end up in a cave, and there's Thoros talking about how this is where the lions and the wolves don't prowl, and then we see, I guess, is this the recasted barrack that we see for the first time again?
Yeah, it's the
And
recast of Beric, which I think is perfect too as well because
mhm.
he's supposed to be have aged a lot after he's died that many times. But go ahead.
And except this in the secret. And pretty much that the Hound has now gone on trial, and he's been basically given trial by combat by Beric because of the murder, pretty much of Micah, and how also at the same time they talk about the starting of House Clegane and how it was about slaughtering children. So if you want to talk about this scene around it.
Well, this I don't know. It's a really cool scene, isn't it? Under a weirwood tree in the books. I cannot remember. I know it's kind of the same setting in the books, but it's woven in between the roots. But I can't remember if it's a weirwood tree on top. God, I'm about to be in that
I
part in the
can't.
book on my reread, so forgive me for not remembering. But I do like the way they portrayed this. It reminded me a lot of how they did in the book. You know, in the books, he's sitting a little bit up high, kind of in the shadows, and you hear his raspy voice come out. And the way they did it cinematically, I think it was good having him come out of the shadows, Clegane, with the way he presented himself, and we have Arya just filled with that rage and revenge, and oh no, he's guilty, he killed, because the Hound makes a good point. You're all killers. We're all killers here. No one can sit here and tell me that I'm more guilty than the next person. But Arya points out the butcher's boy, and he admits to slaughtering him. Uh, I can't remember what he said at this point, but he made some kind of horrible comment about um, he was tough or something. And we're gonna get a one-on-one battle, which I think was a pretty awesome battle we get next episode,
Mm-hmm.
or one-on-one combat. Sorry, battle is
Yeah.
the correct term. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Guy says it was under a cave. It's in a cave under a weirwood tree. And yeah, because then you get the whole thing about the Hound and the children, because they obviously talk about how House Clegane is kind of been responsible for a lot of babies dying, and he mentions that he never saw, heard, smelt anything of Rhaenys and Aegon, Rhaegar's children with Elia Martell. So, and that it was done all those horrible acts to those children, and it's that mention again because of these children and how pretty much omit them in later seasons, which is kind of um, funny in a sense, even though that they died in the most terrible way possible. Um, and yeah, our Ash is like, yeah, he murdered one of my friends, Micah, who ran away, and I think he said he wasn't like a good enough person, or he was easy to kill, or something like that. But yeah, this
He was
leaves
a
you on.
bleeder.
Yes. And this is what we're kind of left on for that storyline is the trial by combat, which happens next episode, which is Kissed by Fire, which has dual meanings, I guess, if you look at it that way. Yeah, there's that. So,
can I say really quick, the Brotherhood Without Banners, you know, they are Westerosi superhero. They defend the innocent, poor, strong, strong. You know, they leap tall buildings in a single bound. They protect from Baratheons and Lannisters and Starks. It doesn't matter if you commit crimes against the people, we will get you. I I find it just a little funny, just that one line, especially in what they end up being all near the end of the series. But other than that, all in all, it's really good. I like how they did it. I wish we could have kept Angie, but you know, whatever.
Yeah, also Septuagint Secret says that I think one of the other quotes was that he ran but not fast. Yeah, the Hound, man. Wonder what will happen to him in the next season. Nancy T sitting in the corner hoping something great will happen with the Hound. If you want to hear the Hound thoughts, go to Johnny's channel because we did an entire stream on the Hound. Anyway, do we want to do Night's Watch and then we leave off with the final scene of this episode?
I guess we can talk about Grin and Ed on poop duty again. I mean, these guys are always doing something with some poop, man. I have to say, I do not envy them. But you can tell right here, Ras is afraid, and this harkens back to Ned and a deserter and someone who's on the brink. There isn't a more dangerous man than someone pushed to desperation like that, and he's a coward. This man is a coward. Ras is a coward through and through. He can't handle himself, you know, and it's just a few people, and it takes those couple of people to cause a whole riot between everyone. Can you really blame them? Depends. You know, it's hard to say because when you're hungry like that, it's hard to have honor. And you know you're getting fed sawdust. And the guy who's feeding you is, well, he's just not the best guy. He doesn't treat you too well. So, without saying too much, I'll let you talk for a little bit about it, though.
Yeah.
But 99 sons to Craster
and
1 son to Mormont equals 100. Don't know if that means anything.
Yeah. But we got Nancy T back saying he better live, and all the people who know who Nancy? Who are you talking about? It was just kind of funny. It made me giggle for a second.
Sandy?
Yeah. Yeah, Gran and Ed are always just seem to stumble upon human poop, or now this time pigs, and Rast, the creepy man. Oh God. And in the same breath, we see Sam interact with Gilly, and how pretty much, and she's holding baby Sam, who will eventually be named baby Sam, and pretty much gives the thimble back, and it's like he doesn't have enough time, or he doesn't have much more time left. Which, does Gilly know something still that we don't know about and Craster, and the Night King and stuff? Unless
she knows that the baby's gonna be turned into a white, and this is another thing that comes back up here. We got all those little baby White Walkers too. You know, people don't really mention them anymore, and I don't think they magically grow up. And there's so many of them, and we've only seen at most a dozen, and now there are definitely fewer, according to Stannis. So no matter what, I feel like there'll be another generation of Long Night to come. You know, it's possible
Mm.
that the magic that they take a long time to grow up, and that's why there's a big gap in between this. But then, if those kids are Craster's sons, then that would make sense. They would just have to grow up normally. So, throw that shit out the window. Johnny be stupid. Anyways,
Well,
thanks
who
for the
knows?
poop emoji, Sasuke. Oh, hashtag Dreamboat
Who
rat.
No.
Ha!
Um. Yeah, and yeah, Sam. He's just hopeless romantic, um, and wants to take care of Gilly as much as possible. And then obviously in the second half of these scenes, we obviously see them burning Darn. I can't remember his name, but he was from White Harbor. I love how Ed
Bannon
goes from White
down
Harbor way,
away.
from White Harbor way.
The
Like it's just like hashtag Ed is Eeyore. Um, and yeah, then obviously the mutiny's about to start because Craster talks about how he has basically hundreds of daughters and that he has had 99 sons, comparing Jorah being Gior's only one son. Uh, and yeah,
Gior doesn't
basically
even have
that
the
they
Gior doesn't even have the quality over quantity win either. So he doesn't even have a good.
yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I had to throw
Like
that
a
in.
good um
Craster's
a
a
pretty
better
good
father than Gior. That's messed up.
and um basically we see who is going to be named Carl fucking Tanner show up, and he's talking about pretty much how that the bread is made of sawdust and how they're not being fed properly. And then the mutiny starts where they kill Craster first, and then Rast is the one that stabs Mormont in the back, and then everybody else starts fighting everybody else, and Sam escapes with Gilly and the baby, which comes on to Sam and Gilly adventures coming up. But yeah, what did you think about when they, if you can remember from when you watched it for the first time, like killing off Gior Mormont?
One, gosh, that should have showed that man how to hold a sword just a little better. Other than that, I kind of liked it. I really wished he would have like choked out Rice to the point. It's hard to watch, honestly, especially on the first time. The way Rice stabbed him afterwards in a fit of rage was so horribly realistic to like something you would see that happened from a true crime show that, man, it made you feel like it was really there. Like that first time watching that, it was hard. Cause yeah, the regular death, if he would have just stabbed him, went down and died, but that after this, the furious stabbing that happened after Mormont was pretty much dead was, oh, it was insane. I mean, the way Craster died, he should have died anyways, but um, what's up, pop couple? The way, yeah, that was pretty fitting, but I think Carl Tanner, who, if I'm not mistaken, he's a show only character. Uh, I believe we needed someone for John to have as a nemesis here. And you need someone a little better than Rast to lead the mutineers as well.
Yeah.
So, I I thought it was really well done. I can't say I liked it because it's kind of hard to watch, but it's good. It's really good.
Yeah. Bobby, if the pictures that I had got for this episode were working, we've got visual aids to from But yeah, this scene is most definitely like hard to watch, especially like going back. I forgot that this episode was what happens in this episode. Like I remember, I was like, oh yeah, like this is when Mormont, but watching it again is just like, oh, god damn it. And the fucking mutineers, man, like they're just insane. But they get sort of their revenge come, what is it, episode 6 of season 4, when John takes a bunch of men north to Craster's to, if I remember correctly, like to kill them all and to save the women.
Yeah.
They get their due, and Ben says that John's foil is Carl fucking Tyner, and that Doug also says that he could have been the Joker to John's Batman. That's kind of a funny thing, and
Yeah, John, don't kiss me and don't look me in the eye, okay? Cylon John. Shout out to Cylon Johnson.
Cylon Johnson. It's just so funny. But yeah, Ben, not Ben.
We're having a fun time tonight, guys.
Ed and Gren stay behind, and it's just one of those things where it's like, oh no, do we lose them next episode? Like when you first watch it, you're like, are they just gonna give them a death off screen? Because we've gotten them a couple times, like as like filler, if you want to call them, so give them an off-screen death. Like that'd be sucky, especially because they're good characters in this Game of Thrones. Well, especially for Ed, because is Ed a made-for-TV character, or is he a book character? I can never remember.
Book. He's the one that dies fighting the giant Mag the Mighty in the books instead of Grin. Grin's still alive in the books, actually, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, they just switch them up a little bit.
Not remember now. Yeah, because I was like, it's either one or the... Anyway. Yeah. R.I.P. G.R. Mormont. Hashtag Ender. They're down the Lord Commander now. Which I think in a couple episodes, Stannis gets the letter that they have no more Lord Commander, I think, once they get back.
Yeah, Tywin's letter, too. We didn't talk about that, just to throw that out. Did we ever find out who that one is, too? Is that one, too, Bruce Bolton? Or is that one... Well, just keep an eye on that, because we do have that letter. Let's see who gets the letter next, because Tywin certainly does write a lot of letters. So does Talissa.
Maybe it's Talissa. Maybe they are pen pals. Who knows? Yeah, who knows? We've gotten now to the final episode, which, for me, and one of our only favorite Dany scenes.
It really is.
That she has. So basically, she meets with Krasner and she gets the Unsullied, is the lightest way to put it, because I know we want to talk about how it was epically shot. So go ahead.
Yeah, so that's okay. I think Donnell Noy dies in the tower. Grin's still alive some damn where in the books. He's not really that big a character. Well, he kind of is, the Aurochs. But yes, Donnell Noy. I want to say Ed dies in the tunnel too, but I could be mistaken. Please do not quote me on that. I'll have to look it up later. But yeah, that's someone who I really missed from the show. We should have got the one-armed Donnell Noy. He really brought some wisdom upon John, but he gets it from other characters. Other than that, let's go back to Dany so I don't ramble and really piss off Sasa. Sassy Sansa will get sassy on me. So, I just love how Danny is really a boss here. She shows her smarts, her wit, her critical thinking, her planning skills. This is where, you know, I honestly love this Danny scene. I was in love with Danny's character, at least up until this point. She starts to diverge and make more emotional decisions, going down a path that's more like the series, not mimicking it. She's on a dangerous road, and that's where I see her. But I want to see her come back to this. Even though she did free a bunch of slaves and still pretty much took them as her own, she did offer them release, but where would they go? No city's really going to take them, and they wouldn't have any money. Now, to that point, her busting out her High Valyrian, just putting whichever Krasnus guy, I can't remember, it's like one of the 15 Krasnuses we know of, or some Kras guy, whatever his damn name is, popping out the High Valyrian, letting him know she could understand everything he said the entire time. Then we get the patented Dracarys. Um, it was one of those epic moments in television history. In television history, I'm getting a little sappy with it. It was an epic moment, and it it really showed you what the dragons are, especially on a small scale. And if you honestly think about Game of Thrones, there's not a lot of Dany scenes. There really isn't. Dany isn't necessarily even the main character of this, which I find very intriguing, that the Mother of Dragons isn't necessarily the main character. You could argue that far more people have many and more scenes than Dany does. Why that is, I don't know. Maybe we'll be able to figure that out later with her character. But I don't know. I'll let you go a little bit, Sasa. I don't know what's up with me tonight. I can't stop talking.
It's okay. Yeah, for this scene especially, it's a great way to end off this episode. In a sense, and you know me, I'm not the biggest Dany fan in the world. But this scene really is epic. And even one of the Funko Pops that I have is her in this outfit. Because I remember now how epic the scene is. And a lot of people watch this. And for her having known Tyrion and hiding that for probably about now 2 episodes, this will be like the second really episode, the third, where she's hiding the fact that she knows all these different languages, or knowing Valyrian and now knowing Dothraki. So it's kind of a funny thing that she's hiding with that. And when she pulls out the big guns 2 times, meaning Drogon and the fact that she knows, it pretty much shocks all of these people who've like talked behind her back, especially Krasnir and Master Krasnir and all that stuff. Like funny how I even got like the screenshots of like when she's like saying that she's Daenerys Stormborn, the mother of
This was the birth of titles, wasn't it?
mm-hmm, where she starts saying that she's Daenerys Stormborn and that she's Daenerys Targaryen, and that her mother tongue is Valyrian and all of this stuff. And it's just, she says it with a sass. And the fact that Drogon is probably the only dragon that knows what Dracarys means, or is shown to only know what Dracarys means, is kind of convenient, especially since he's the biggest one.
Yeah.
And it's funny because
Ben says something important. This is the first time we get to see her true power, projecting her voice for thousands to hear without a mic. She's got the lungs of a dragon, bro. You know.
Even Doug says that this is my favorite scene in the series. Wow, that's
high praise from the curmudgeon dog.
Yeah.
That's high praise from the dog. I have to say. Yeah, it is a really good scene.
And the way that it's shot as well, probably used a lot of CGI. Probably about 100 men dressed up in unsullied uniforms to then be multiplied about, what, 18 times how much they needed. And yeah, it's a good scene, and you see how much, I guess, strength she gets, not only from her dragons, but with getting these unsullied. But it also begs into question when the fires go out and
what if the homeless man
she's
picked up that whip as well?
yeah, she's like you said, walking out on her horse, and when she drops the whip, like you said, what if someone finds that whip? It means that they now have keys to the unsullied. John and I were talking about before the stream about how some homeless person or really poor person will show up with the whip and sees the name and be like, Danny, these are my unsullied, as a joke, which would have been really funny.
Crazy Septon Moon character. Just picked it up, has a fervent following. He's got like one eye, a peg leg.
Yeah. But the fact that she's also says that you can fight for me now that you're free, it's like, Danny, what else are they gonna do? They were raised to be unsullied from pretty much they were, what, 5 years old, less than that. So it's like, what are they else gonna do? Just have a free life and go and have children and all of this stuff? No, they can't. So it's like the only thing that they do know is to be a person who's in the unsullied army. Like, it's, I guess it kind of saves her face almost, that all of these people fight for her because they want to, but in a sense they kind of have to, or else they're just but that would have been.
Yeah, it's a good point. The unsullied aren't really going to question much. We see that they kind of want to take a little bit of the freedom route, but it's always like they're in search of guidance because that's what they've had their whole life. It's only fair. They've had a tough existence, and I think John made a point. Yeah, they are free. And there wouldn't be a show if they all decided just to go be free anyway. Danny would just be right back at the same place she was. To Kenzie's point, the only place they could go is back to Astapor. And then it's not like they could have kids. The people she freed wasn't necessarily all the slaves or anything yet. So it's fairly unclear as to what she really did in Astapor, right? How much she took over the city. Because she basically just killed the Archon, right? Is it the Archon? Can't remember. There's so many different titles for the different things. You either have a prince. I can't remember. Either way.
That's a Krasnir or something.
We don't get much on it. I guess we're to assume they took the whole city, right? Like in the books. So we have all these other slaves, so they're gonna naturally stay in the city, but there's under whose rule? They're still under someone's rule, unless she tells them to make their own government, which never happened. True freedom would be letting them do whatever the hell they want. So it's this revolving philosophical door that Danny tries to have a perfect answer to, and that's kind of what's been her downfall. She keeps trying to do the thing it's the right thing to do, but it's just not possible when you factor in free will. You're either you have to show some kind of control, and she's going back and forth on that. We'll see if she can get a happy medium. I hope she does. But we'll see.
Like Ben says, it would have been hilarious if a quarter of them just burnt the fuck out immediately, like, they ran away. Like, nope, I'm not doing this. Like, we have dragons. I'm gone. Yeah, it would have been funny if they all just like, oh, you set us free? Okay, thanks, bye. And just like all ran in the opposite direction. Then she would be, like you said, back where she started. And it's kind of funny how
they get jobs at the convenience store.
yeah, they get jobs at the convenience store.
Oh, that's good.
But this scene is probably one of the favorites that I've had. Daenerys. I think it's only when she really does her like somewhat power plays that changes her character in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, the fighting pits of Marine are pretty cool, but you're not really as endeared to Dany at that point. Right now, most people have more of an emotional investment in Dany at this point. They haven't tuned out a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, most people see her as a black and white character too, and she is not that in the slightest. She's a completely gray character. The only white, like completely positive character or straight up.
Oh, you dropped.
Journey.
Or you broke up for that entire thing. So
oh my goodness.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you.
I was saying,
the chat could hear you.
Most people see Dany as black and white. Right here, you're kind of seeing her as the savior. But she is a truly great character. The only real, like, straight up hero in the story is Jon Snow. Other than that, everyone is a great character or on the evil side. I don't even, you have a rare few people that are straight up evil. Even Littlefinger, you can argue there's something behind what he's doing. You can argue, you can make some excuses, but he would be on the other end of the spectrum, right? So Dany is still figuring out who she is. She's living behind the titles that she was supposedly born with, and she's still not being herself, is what I think is her problem right now. I think she can find it. We'll just see what happens in the north. But I do love the scene. Probably my other favorite Dany scene is the fighting pits of Marine when Drogon enters from the fireball. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I covered that actually. That was kind of funny.
I know.
Yeah. If there is any more thoughts that you have on this, it's just a cool scene. If you haven't seen it in a while, go look it up. If you don't have time to rewatch the entire episode, just that epic scene, people make videos on it all the time. Yeah, it's a good scene and it was a good episode. So, what do you rate this episode?
Oh, I give this one 9.25 Varys vasectomies. Yeah.
Oh man. Everyone in the chat, if you want, give the rating that you would give this episode. My rating for this episode is 9.25 Dracarises.
Hey, you can't copy my 9.25.
I like the 0.25 because I was like, it's like, now that we talked about this episode more, I was like, I like that. I give it 9, and then I was like, no, there's some stuff that boosts it up a little bit.
Yeah, I couldn't quite give it a 9.5, but it's definitely solid 9.25 for sure.
Yeah. The Data Secrets gives this 9 latrine digs, I guess. Or 9 latrines dug. Sorry, not digs. Dug. And
that's okay. Heroes kill people all the
can...
time. It's just the manner of killing. We'll get into it later. We'll have a fun time with this because it is subjective.
Yeah.
But Jon is clearly the only. Whatever. We'll get into it later. I'm having a Jon Snow stream. You'll love it.
Yeah. We got Pandora Targaryen, who gives this an 8.5. Sasuke gets 7.5 rasts. And Ben gives this episode 8.9 big magicians in a box. And Doug that gives this episode 9.5. With those some kind of, I guess not scores but ratings come in. Tell people where they can find you if they don't know where to find you already, and what's coming up on your channel a little bit.
Yeah. So Johnny Be Crazy. You can find me at Johnny Be Crazy, at Johnny Be Crazy, and at Johnny Bragg. Just find me anywhere on all these social media sites. Have a good time trying to find me. I don't do anything, so good luck. I'm a boring guy. No, you can catch me on my channel. We'll have podcasts coming up soon. Look out for that. Lots of visuals. It's going to be very fun. We're going to have some episode clips coming out, so I'm kind of taking Sasa spotlight here. Also, tomorrow, 2 o'clock Eastern, Top Shelf Fandom, Justin Thomas from the Top Shelf Fandom, Mackenzie L. Burns, whom you may know, we'll be talking the Viking season finale tomorrow, Ragnarok. And we'll be talking a little bit about the season as a whole. And I'm going to have a few special guests on in the next week upcoming, talking about what they think about the whole season. And I believe there's some people out there that want us to go back through the seasons of Vikings. I think we'll do about 5 episodes at a time. We'll let you know when that's coming out. Fire and Blood. Getting AU Pack Mule on here for that. So be looking out on that soon. We're getting a time together. It's tentative right now, so we'll be making time for that. Lots of things coming up. I don't know. Follow me, subscribe. Definitely hit that like button on this channel. I will be here at all times. And you can always catch me on the Cylon Johns, which will have a podcast coming out tomorrow. And at 9 o'clock Eastern, we'll be streaming on a new episode. Resistance. There we go. I think that's it.
I think you got it. Yeah, for me, coming up on this channel, because pretty much all of what Johnny said I'm involved with, so I don't want to regurgitate all of that. But coming up for this channel, we're hopefully going to be doing more podcasty episodes for the more necessarily filler, quote unquote, episodes where not a lot of stuff really happens, more dramatic stuff where we can show all these lovely pictures from the episode. But we're going to be keeping like the really good episodes on Wednesdays, and whatever episodes fall on Wednesdays, we'll be doing those as well. If people want to these discussions, most likely do. If you want someone to talk about this with us, most definitely let them know. And yeah, you can follow me here on my channel. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, all of that lovely stuff, and follow all these people in the chat right now, even if they don't have a con. They will. For example, Bobby, she may not have right now, but she's involved in Cylon John. So if you want to see her lovely thoughts, you can find her there. And all of these other lovely people you can find. With that, I guess the next episode we'll be talking about will likely be on a podcast, and that's Kissed by Fire. So that's Barrack / the Hound doing Trial by Combat, Jody to Egret, and much, much more, like always. And with that, we will see you all in the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye.